then let's kick this off. Welcome to today's webinar called The Brand Brief. This is our MENA edition of how to protect a brand's reputation and boost growth. So we'll talk the next 25 to 30 minutes about brand in general. What does it mean? What is it? How to protect it? How to grow it? How to use brand as a tool to grow your business. And most importantly, we will cover three main cultural shifts that we see right now, global cultural shifts that might impact brand or might impact your business in one way or another. We see those shifts as opportunities. I think the businesses that will position themselves in time and proactively deal with those shifts will have a great chance to grow their business. Those who won't will face likely difficulties moving forward. So thank you for joining in. We will kick off right away, like I said, we'll be done at around 11:45. First, our agenda. We'll have a quick introduction of what we'll be looking at today. What is our key thought in that presentation, in that webinar. We will look at business concerns. Many of our clients, many of the people we talk to right now, what are their concerns these days, sort of coming out of a time of COVID by now for a couple of months already, facing at least here in Qatar in 50 plus days the World Cup, and then basically diving in 2023 into a bit of an unknown. What will the World Cup give us here in Qatar? What will 2023 bring? What is the trend there? The first year without any COVID restrictions, businesses back on track, and for many here in the country, but also I'm sure in the region, 23 will be a bit of an unknown. Then we look at the current state of brand, and then ultimately at who we are, what we bring to the table, and J Portman as a business. Okay. Good, quick intro. My name is Marco. I'm the manager of J Portman, a company that we founded 4 years ago, and that is a brand consulting firm helping businesses communicate in the right way, protect their brand reputation, and then ultimately use that to grow their business. Let's have a quick look at the key thought of that presentation, which is rapid transformation to find balance between cultural traditions and modern age. And I chose that picture here for a reason. You see this, the MIA here in Doha, which is the Museum of Islamic Arts, and then through sort of the arcs you see the very modern West Bay skyline. And this is really a picture that speaks to our topic today. We are living in unbelievably fast-changing times in all sorts, digitally, staff expectations, clients' expectations, etc. But at the same time, here in the region, we need to take care of the cultural traditions that we have. The limits, the blessings we have, the rich culture that we are living in, and that all of us chose to live in, especially as experts coming here, and to find that balance and to speak to brands how to navigate those waters. This is what we want to do today. Okay, so let's dive in. Key business concerns that we currently hear, but not only in the region and here in the country, but I would say globally. This is definitely something that brands have to deal with these days. Is internally, you talk about a lack of talent. You don't find the right people. You don't find the right team. People are less connected to the businesses they work in. It's not how it used to be. Quick story of something that I can think of. My dad has been working in the same company for, I believe, 30 plus years easily. This is something that most of us can't imagine these days anymore. We have a high turnover in staff in some companies. You see people looking for new opportunities on an ongoing basis, because there are opportunities in all fields, in all industries. And the generation that is now entering the workforce wants to make use of those opportunities that might be different, or that was for sure different when my dad or your parents, your grandparents started their jobs 30, 40 plus years ago. The opportunities might have been limited at the time. So this leads to a couple of things. It's hard to recruit. It's hard to keep people, good people especially, on board, because there's a high competition around talents. I see this every day here, but this is an international trend, to be honest. Definitely there's a misalignment in expectations very often, that staff has different expectations of what the role is about, of the depth of the job and the brand that they're working with. And then we see a trend, some call it the big resignation. There might be something else coming where people don't apply in the first place because they're just other opportunities in the market. They want to do something for themselves, and then businesses will be in trouble if they haven't built, let's say, an appealing enough employee brand that people want to work for. Then secondly, externally, sales don't grow significantly anymore. It's tough to sell. We have especially here in the market, it's very saturated in many industries, because it's a small market. So it's tough to sell your product, to sell your service. Advertising costs are very, very high, partially, and conversions into sales are low. So why do we say advertising costs are high? What used to be a good deal on Instagram or on Snapchat or on Facebook before is maybe not as good of a deal anymore. There are many companies and brands now using those channels for advertising purpose, and it's tougher to get in front of your audience. And on the flip side, because the rate of what clients or what the audience is exposed to in terms of ads and in terms of content, conversions are pretty low. To convert someone down the funnel towards an actual sale is tougher. Again, a stronger brand might help you, but we'll talk about this in a bit. And the last point, a high churn, so people don't stay long. You have a high turnover in clients if you don't manage to provide enough value to keep them on board. And this is the same for clients as with employees. So these are two key business concerns that we wanted to outline, that we hear a lot about right now, and that we think with a strong brand that you can not fix. We're not talking about fixing, but definitely mitigate. Okay. So let's jump into the global cultural shifts that we talked about before. We will look at 3 out of 5 today. The first one will be back to the basics, and I will come in a bit to what that means. The second one is staff activism, and the third one, divided diversity. What we'll be not looking at today is conscious purchasing and metaverse and co. That might be something we cover in another webinar. So let's jump into the first one. Back to the basics. What does it mean? What kind of cultural shifts do you see? And actually, this is something that is not new. This is revolving, but we definitely see it these days or this year, the past couple of years actually already, and I will tell you why that's the case. We say uncertainty creates strong nostalgia for the good old days, and COVID and everything that came with it has created a lot of uncertainty for many of us, and this kind of always throws us back into I wish back the good old days. I wish like it was like before, when I used to go out, when I used to travel, when I used to play with friends, just the basic things what people try to remember, and this is often linked to uncertainty. Storytelling in that sense makes sense of the world, and we feel in control again. When we hear stories, doesn't matter if they are from the past or just storytelling about brands, this gives us comfort. This counters this uncertainty. So this is why we also encourage brands and the companies we deal with. You need to tell a story. People are willing to listen to stories, but you need to tell a good one. The same point we talk about is in moments of crisis, humans seek refuge in the past. It goes into the the same uncertainty pattern. And something that you might see here and there is people coming back to old TV shows that they've seen before, or that they just want to watch again, or comedy shows. And something that is maybe more recently that we see in the streets more often is, despite having all the Bluetooth headphones and the AirPods and everything, people go back to wired headphones. It might be a trend, it might be something that they want to bring back, that they were used to before. It gives them some sort of safety, simplicity, some plug and play experience without Bluetooth connection, and something that seems to be seamless and easy, but it doesn't work sometimes. So even now I'm using a plug-in microphone, nothing Bluetooth. Maybe it's part of a nostalgia. At the same time, though, while this happens, we encounter increased pace of globalization, a surge of trade agreements. So the world is opening up, want to make business with each other. Countries, economies want to make business with each other. So these are really two counter trends. You and me, humans, might want to slow it down a bit, look at nostalgia, about the good old days, and at the same time, the world tries to open up and tries to trade and tries to make business with each other. Yeah, and at the same time as well, we return to local traditions, return to culture and beliefs. So you see a lot of, in business as well, a lot of movement towards artisan, about caring about the local supplier again, connecting with what your parents or your grandparents might have connected before, to keep it simple. So these are two really interesting shifts that you should consider with your brand and position. How do you communicate about this as a business? How do you see those trends? Is this something relevant in your industry? And then go about it as we do. A picture that kind of sums up exactly what we talked about. People bring back even these old TVs, if it's for decoration purpose, or it just gives them a feel of safety, of something maybe to smile about. Kind of as a wrap up of that trend, what we recommend you can do, it's at the end of the day, it's individual for each brand and business, but brands need to work closely with the local market and their target audience to create meaningful services again. And meaningful services and products, we mean you need to tell a story, and you can only do that when you connect with a local market. Brands also need to find a way to segment audiences. It's not a one approach fits all. A one fits all approach. You need to see who you have in front of you and segment as much as possible. So if you have an audience of 1,000 or 10,000 people that you cater to, try to build pools on how to communicate to each one of those segments, which will increase just the authenticity, the trust you create among them. Also listen to employees, listen to consumers of different generations, of different backgrounds, to just get insights, because these are the ones you ultimately want to sell to, you want to cater to, you want to connect with. So listen, do research about them. Okay. So wrap of the first cultural shift, we jump to the second one. Divided diversity. What does that mean? What do we talk about here? So currently, I would say the majority of your audience as well are one of the four generations on the right side: Boomers, Gen X, Millennials, and Gen Z, ranging from 1946 being born then to 2012. So 2012, someone is 10 years today. Slowly in the next couple of years will enter sort of the workforce, maybe a bit later, but definitely creating first purchasing decisions, even if it's only about toys or the kind of tools they use, the kind of apps they use on their phones. So definitely already here. Gen Z is also now the largest generation globally, and they will have an impact in the next 5 to 10 years. And it's crucial that you are aware of that and that you position your brand accordingly. Increased priority on self-identity and self-expression are trends that we see there. There are definitely differences in background and perspective, which create tensions between generations. So this is not something new. If I talk to, again, to my dad, granddad, and further back, they would say the same things. They would say that his father, the granddad at the time, they were not cool enough. They did things in a different way. However, with the pace of technology that we are moving at, these gaps become massive. Yeah. If I show my granddad or even granddad a phone and the apps that we use and the content we distribute, you can imagine how difficult this would be to explain and to get someone on board that this is something that people care about these days. So with the increased pace of technology, the gaps between those generations will become wider and wider, and you need to communicate, you need to simplify, and you need to position your brand in a way that makes sense across generations. Okay. One thing that we see as well, boomers and Gen X, so people born between, let's say, 1946 and 1980, are the one right now with the most purchasing and decision-making power. Yeah. So when you look at business owners or managers, CEOs in large corporations, these are usually not millennials or Gen Z yet. Okay. So they are the ones who make the decisions right now, even in politics, obviously. But millennials and Gen Z is what the future kind of is about, right? And their expectations and how they see the world and how they want to, and what kind of world they want to live in. So for a brand, it's extremely important to find a balance between those generations and the expectations of each one of them. Yeah. And I'm not talking only on the consumer level. This is the same for staff. This is the same in leadership and HR roles. This is the same if you go back and forth on your supply chain and the suppliers you're dealing with. Okay, so very complex topic, something that internally as a brand you should definitely have a meeting or two about, to just discuss that and see where do you want to stand in the next 3 to 5 to 10 years, and how do you start communicating now, maybe starting 2023, about those topics. Yeah? Do you want to be a part of it, or you might be irrelevant in a couple of years' time? Again, quick picture to sort of signify, to make this significant. You can imagine those two guys next to each other, completely different generations, different thoughts of what maybe even fishing is about, or how you could go about this in the future. One maybe already with a smartphone in his pocket, the other one potentially not. So we wrap this up. Again, a few thoughts from our side, how to create clarity around those positions and staying culturally relevant. Care about your current audience, care about your future audience. Care about your current employees, and have a thought about how future employees should see you. This comes back to the first thing that we talked about. How do you stay relevant for future talent as well? How do you attract talent, which will, in a very simple way, reduce your recruitment costs significantly? If talent finds you and says, hey, I want to work with you, I want to be part of the vision that you stand for. So, tricky one, I know, but start thinking about those topics, because they will be relevant in no time. The last one, talking about staff activism. So this is an internal topic, super relevant if you sort of see that point of, I can't find anyone to work for my company, for my brand, or I don't find the right people or enough people. This is a topic that will become more relevant in the next year, 2, 3 to come, but I feel it has already started. Staff activism. So we start on the right side. You see the 3 red bubbles. Before, you needed to care about shareholders. Before, you needed to care about the people that invested in your business. Yeah, the founders. If you're a very large company, a public company, you needed to care about other shareholders. But this was ultimately it. As a company, as a business, you were dictating what the consumer gets. Right now, it has shifted towards the consumer. I think as a consumer, as a client, you get to almost dictate the terms of business in some industries. You have a lot more influence because you have options. You have different kind of businesses and brands that you can buy from, which increase the competition on the business side, which is great, but also which gave a lot of power to the consumers, which from a consumer side, again, is great. From a business side, it can be challenging at times. What we see as next, and it doesn't mean that the consumer power disappears, but we see definitely staff and employees playing a bigger part because of the lack of talent, because of the many options they have to enter the work environment or maybe do something on their own. The staff will get to dictate, will get to have a say in a lot of business decisions, because ultimately they will know they have the power to leave at any time, to find a new opportunity. And as a business, you want to create an environment to attract the best, to ultimately build a very, very successful company. Okay. So going back to staff activism, what is it to begin with? It's defined as when employees speak up against their company or issues that impact workers, customers, or the environment or society at large. Okay, this is vision related. So and you might start seeing that already, like I said, if a member of your team of staff can't really envision what you're trying to accomplish besides selling products or selling services, if they don't align with your vision, they might be less inclined to start working for you or start working with you, okay, or stay for a longer time for that sense. So it's really important that you create an alignment around your vision and their vision at the same time. What talent is looking for: alignment in beliefs, work culture, and sort of have to have a say, decision-making power. What they're not looking for anymore is the biggest paycheck, free fruit basket, or a foosball table. If you throw in a few gimmicks, a tennis table, or sort of a lunch, a break room, or free coffee, that just doesn't cut it anymore. These are maybe things that 10, 15 years ago has convinced people to start working for you, but it won't now and won't definitely not do it in the future. The care you give towards employees and towards staff will matter more than the cheap gimmicks you provide on the side. Listen to individual staff members, understand their goals and work with them to achieve those goals. Listening, again, will be an important part because you need a team, you need talents to grow your company. You won't be able to do it without them, in most cases at least. So you want people that are aligned, that enjoy working for you, enjoy working with you, because that reduces a lot of friction. That makes a lot of decisions and discussions potentially go away or make them a lot easier if you're aligned. And on the consumer level, you will feel that, or a consumer will feel that. If a company sort of pulls in the same direction as a team, you can feel that from top to bottom. So it's best to start internally. Yeah, this is maybe a picture that would appeal to many. Very open plan sort of layout. Everyone is in casual clothes. You have a few gimmicks here and there for stuff. It's bright. You have plants. You have funny lighting. That might be a nice environment to work in. But I hope it's not the only thing that they do, because that won't be enough moving forward. A few thoughts from our side again. What used to be as a priority, clients at the very top, the client's audience at second, and staff sort of at the bottom, will likely need to turn if it hasn't started already, which staff needs to be number one, because ultimately they cater your clients. Okay, and if staff feels good and is in a good position to perform, then they will cater much better to clients or to a product or that service. A second priority, the client's audience, to sort of make them happy and make the customers happy. And then third, the client themselves, because the client will be happy automatically if they see you grow their business. And for different industries, that might change. If you're more on a product-related side, the audience might matter less or more, but you get the topic overall. Staff needs to be a priority to keep talent on board and ultimately grow your business. And sort of the last slide on that, how to go about this. Make sure a brand foundation is in place. You know what you stand for. Create an inclusive working environment. Create different styles of communication, really top down, bottom up. It's important to try both, to use both, to stay flexible and be inclusive ultimately. Social media channels, which for many, again, is always a quick fix. These are just amplifiers of what happens internally. That can be positive and that can be negative at the same time, but it's an amplifier at best, nothing else. You can, if you take this further, especially for bigger companies, can set up an advocacy program for staff, because ultimately they will become brand ambassadors by themselves and they will do the marketing for you. They will maybe even recruit other talents that are in their environment, so that can really have a nice snowball effect once that gets going. And all of it will facilitate recruitment, build brand, help you with sales automatically, and reduce the turnover. So as a wrap up, as we're coming to our end of that webinar, ultimately if you can build real connections with your tribe, we say, or with people, sooner or later you will be replaced. And that is the case internally with your team, with the staff you recruit, and it's definitely the case with your audience and your consumers. On the consumer side, that might be more difficult because it takes longer. You need to communicate externally. So this is why we recommend start internally, get everything aligned internally, and then ultimately start communicating to your audience and to potential clients. Current state of brand, sort of, it's a quick slide, but it really shows what we currently see and how people care about brand and how they use it versus how they should use it. So priorities in business right now, with T0 being the start of the business and T15 sort of being 15 years into it. In an ideal scenario, a business growth over time. You have slow to steady growth in the beginning, sometimes a bit more exponential, but ultimately you try to grow your sales. Brand somehow is something that people, once they set up their initial, if they set it up at all, value system, what they want to stand for, get their visual identity in place, create a space that people can work in, and sort of have cared about all touch points once, they never look at it again, or they rarely look at it again. And this is a problem, because as long as sales grow, everyone is happy, and nobody cares about how it happened, kind of. But this is not a very sustainable way to build your company or to go about sales to begin with. A much more sustainable way to go about it is the second slide, which is, as sales grow, continuously invest in your brand as well. Invest in your marketing, invest in internal communication, invest in staff, invest in the knowledge and the training of your staff, and then do externally the same. You might need to update your brand identity if goals have changed over time, but to just stay aware that a brand should grow with the sales, ideally, because it will be a supportive element throughout. Okay, so that's about it. On 29 minutes we come to an end. We have two more sort of quick wrap-up slides in case. First that wrap up why you should care about brand of the webinar. You won't avoid mistakes in communication, internally or externally. Just detach from that idea. Nobody's perfect. But a strong brand can mitigate those risks and the impact they have on business. You see, Apple is a great example with an unbelievably strong brand. When they decided to remove chargers or, I think they still provide the cable though for charging, but they removed the charger for iPhones, for example. people were first upset about, over time they kind of forgot. If a brand would have done that has less impact and that people care less about, I think this could have been detrimental to the company, to the business itself. But you see, if you love a brand and you connect with them for many reasons beyond the product, you're more forgiving. So from a business side, this is exactly why you should build a brand. Second, it reduced costs of sales, obviously. It just needs less convincing to bring someone to purchase your product or service, if from the beginning you're already convinced with a brand. As an example, I wear Nike sneakers on a not daily basis, but very often. I've never had a Nike representative or salesman convince me to buy sneakers. It just happens, You're convinced with the communication that they put out, with the values they stand for, that you want to be a part of that by wearing products from them. So have that in mind. I know we are not Nike, you're likely not Nike or anywhere close, but that works on a small scale as well. And third, build a real team. If people care about what you do, it's much easier to have other people care, customers, potential clients, about what you do as well. So now this is a wrap. Quickly to who we are. If you had if you drew any value out of this, of what we talked about in the last 30 minutes, and you want to sort of deepen the conversation and see where you could go with your business or with your brand, this is who we are. Like I said, we are a consulting firm, a brand consulting firm that started back in 2018. So lucky, just before COVID, kind of. Our values is accountability. We want to stand for what we talk about. We want to actually be committed to the things we say. We like pace. We want to be fast, because the faster you are, the more you learn, the quicker you can pivot if you make mistakes. And we are passionate about what we do. I hope that came across in the last 30 minutes, because it really matters, internally as well as externally. Building a strong brand. I'm not saying you build the next Apple or the next Nike, but start caring about those things, because it will help you grow your business. Not immediately, this is not a short-term exercise, but definitely mid to long term you will see the benefits. Yeah, services that we sort of have put this into is we do brand audits, where we check how you're currently communicating internally, externally, sort of 360 degrees, and then make recommendations how to do it better, how to tweak it slightly. Then we do brand strategies, where we from scratch build a foundation that internally and externally people can connect with and can care about. And then there are sort of individual consulting gigs and projects that if your request doesn't fit in any of those two, then we can customize something that might help you. Okay, so yeah, like I said, you can hire us, you can invite us to speak on workshops and podcasts, or you can join us on our programs. We are always happy to hear from you, to connect with you. We have also an agency partner program that we are especially for agency partners, marketing agencies, ad agencies, always happy to have people around. And yeah, that's it. Stay engaged. Thank you for everyone who's been here, who's got any value out of this, like I said. And we would love to hear from you. Take care.